Hello everyone, welcome to English Yan. This is Shivashish Dash. Today I have come up with the poem Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda, and it's prescribed for the students of class 12. So before starting, please hit the like button, and if you are new to my channel, make sure that you have subscribed to it. So before we start the poem, let's know something about the poet Pablo Neruda. Pablo Neruda was born in 1904 and he passed away in 1973. His real name was Neftali Ricardo Reyes Bezualto, and Pablo Neruda was just his pen name. He was born in the town of Parral in Chile, and his poems are full of easily understood images. In his poems you will find such images that you can understand easily and you can relate to them very well. He won the Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1971. It's one of his biggest achievements. In this poem, Pablo Neruda tries to give us the basic idea about two very important things, that is introspection and of creating a feeling of mutual understanding. In this poem, he wants us to take a break from our busy daily life, busy schedules, and to introspect, that is to think, that is to examine our own feelings, our own way of thinking, and to see whether we are going in the right or wrong direction. He also wants us to have a feeling of brotherhood, have a feeling of mutual understanding, so that all the evil deeds in this world are no longer there and they don't exist at all. So without wasting any time, let's move on to the poem. Keeping Quiet by Pablo Neruda. Now we will count up to 12 and we will all keep still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. So in the very first line, the poet Pablo Neruda tells us that we will count up to 12 and we will all keep still. Means here he mentions a very interesting thing, that we all should count up to 12. Now there is a very great confusion sometimes among students, that they fail to interpret why does the poet want us to count up to 12. Look here, 12 is a very interesting number. We all know that there are 12 hours in the clock. Means 12 hours when added with another 12 hours, it makes for the whole day, that is the 24 hours. So here 12 might be the hours that are there in the clock, or 12 months are also there in a whole year. So here the poet leaves this question open to us. He wants us to interpret whether he wants to say 12 hours or 12 months by the number 12. So he wants that we all should count up to 12 and we all should keep still. It's sometimes very common that whenever we are very angry or whenever we are very much tense, sometimes we count up to certain numbers to calm ourselves down. Many a times our elders also tell us that we should count up to 10 or 20 whenever we are very much angry. Similarly, Pablo Neruda also requests us to count up to 12 so that we all become still and we all listen to what he wants to say. So in the next line, what he says, for once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. He says that for once on the face of the earth means for the first time on the face of the earth. Here face means surface. He says that it has never happened in the earth any time in the past, but for the first time on the surface of the earth, let's not speak in any language. Look, sometimes language becomes a barrier. We tend to separate people on the basis of their language. We human beings, we are considered to be the best creature of God, but sometimes we behave so weirdly that we are also the worst creatures of God. God created this universe. He gave us this beautiful earth to live in. He created all the creatures, but we human beings, we have only created walls. We have only separated people based on religion, based on caste, based on creed, based on languages. So Pablo Neruda requests us that for the first time on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. It means we all should remain silent. We all should not separate each other on the basis of language. He wants every one of us to remain silent. Let's not speak in any language. Let's keep our mouths shut. Why does he want us to do this? We'll get to know in the later half of the poem. Let's stop for 1 second. He wants us to stop for 1 second. Here 1 second doesn't mean that he actually wants us to stop for only 1 second. He means that we should stop for a moment. We should take a break from our daily routine. We in this world, we are like in a rat race. We want to exceed, we want to go for the excellence, we want to overtake each and everyone. But in this process, we are forgetting the true essence of life. We are forgetting ourselves. We are forgetting the humankind. We are forgetting everything. So he wants us to take a break from this busy schedule, and he wants us to introspect. He wants us to think about ourselves. He wants us to think about this life. So he says that let's stop for 1 second. He wants us to just take a break from all these things and not move our arms so much. He also says that we should not move our arms so much at that moment. Here arms doesn't mean the body part. Here arms represent the weapons. In this world, we have seen that all the countries want to dominate each other. They want to prove that we are the powerhouse of this world. So he says that all the countries in this world, they should also take a break. They should also stop moving their weapons. They should also stop the wars. They should try and relax. They should keep calm and think about what they have done and what needs to be done. So that is why he says that we should not move our arms so much. We should not try and dominate each other. We should not try and overpower each other. We should just take a break for some time. So again, let us discuss what has been said here. Now we will count up to 12 and we will all keep still. Means we all should count up to 12 so that we get a basic idea how to keep ourselves still. For once on the face of the earth, let's not speak in any language. He wants all of us to remain silent for some time so that we are not separated or we are not divided on the basis of language. Let's not speak in any language. Let's stop for 1 second and not move our arms so much. He also requests us to stop moving our arms so much. Means he wants this use of weapons to stop for a while so that every one of us gets the time to remain silent and introspect about what is going on. Now let's have a look at the next few lines. It would be an exotic moment without rush, without engines, we'd all be together in a sudden strangeness. Now in this stanza, the poet Pablo Neruda tells us how it would be like if such a time arrives that everyone is still, everything in this world is still. It is a bit like this current situation when the whole world is under the lockdown and there is no rush among people, all the streets are nearly empty and we all are sitting at our homes. Means we are taking a break from our daily life. We can relate a bit to the current situation. He says that if such a time arrives that when everything in this world is still, there is no rush, there is no activity, then how it will be? He just gives an idea of that situation. He says that it would be an exotic moment. He says that if such a moment arrives that when everything is still, that moment will be a very exotic moment. Here exotic means extraordinary or special. He says that that moment would be very special when everything comes to a standstill without rush. He says that if such a moment arrives, there will not be any kind of rush. Everything will be very calm. Everyone will be very calm without engines. There won't be any engines, means no vehicles will be there. We would all be together in a sudden strangeness. And if every people of this world, they try and remain calm, remain still for some time, it would be such a situation that we would all be together in a sudden strangeness. Means at that time we all would be together. No one will be separated. No one will think that I am Indian, he is a Englishman, he is an American. Nobody will think like that. We all would be together because we all would come together and take a break from our life and try to introspect. So in this stanza he only wants to say this, that it would be a great moment if everyone took a break from their daily life and no rush of engines, no rush of people would be there, and it would be a very beautiful moment and all the citizens of this world would be together, and that would be of a sudden strangeness. Everyone will feel something strange about the situation, but that will be a new experience for everyone. So in the next stanza, Pablo Neruda tells us what the result of that break would be. Means if people took a break from their daily life, what result it would bear. So let's have a look. Fisherman in the cold sea would not harm whales, and the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Here Pablo Neruda uses two images. He uses the image of fisherman and of the man gathering salt. First he says that fishermen in the cold sea would not harm whales. Look, people in this world, we are very selfish, and we actually, for our survival, we hurt or we harm other creatures. Here he takes the example of the fisherman who, due to his profession or due to his survival, he has to harm the whales which are there in the cold sea. He has to go out there and he has to fish those whales for his survival. But if everyone takes a break, that fisherman would also be able to take a break and he would no longer harm the whales. Here the poet wants to say that if we people took a break from our daily life, we took a break from our rush in our life, we would get the chance to introspect. We would think that we would no longer cause harm to anyone else. It is very often seen that when we try to attain success, we use other people as a ladder. We try and overtake them, try and harm them in order to attain success. But if we take some moments out of our life and introspect, we would no longer harm others for our own good. He also says that the man gathering salt would look at his hurt hands. Here again he uses the image of a man who gathers salt. We all know that people gather salt beside or at the beach of the sea, because salt is extracted from the sea. Here he means to say that people, they get engaged in their work so much, they get involved in their work so much, they don't get the opportunity to look what their work has caused to them, what harm that work has caused to them. So he says that if we take a break from our lives, if we take a break from our busy schedules, we would get that time to analyze how much harm we have done to ourselves or how much harm we have done to others also. So he says that the man who gathers salt, means the man who collects the salt, he would also look at his hurt hands, means he would also get a chance to look at his hands and he would get an opportunity to analyze how much harm he has done to himself. In this professional world where everyone wants to become the best, and it is actually a good thing, but we go ahead so much that we forget that in order to attain that excellence, in order to become the best, we sometimes do more harm to ourselves instead of doing any good. So in this stanza, Pablo Neruda would tell us about some wars that are going on in this current world. And he would also tell us how that moment of stillness, and if we take a bit of break from our current situation, how those wars or how those people who are involved in those wars would be affected by that moment of stillness. Those who prepare green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. Here he mentions some wars like green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, and victory with no survivors. He says that some people are involved in different sort of wars, means some people are involved in green wars. Here green wars means deforestation, means people nowadays, we are busy in cutting down trees, we are destroying all the natural resources of this earth. So he says that those people who prepare green wars, means those who are involved in green wars, those who cut down trees. Wars with gas refers to those wars or those people who are making this environment or making this atmosphere toxic by releasing various gases which are harmful. And wars with fire refers to the wars that we generally know about, means those wars which are fought on the battlefield or which are fought with nuclear weapons or with guns and several other firearms. He also says that the victory that we will get from those wars, in that victory there will be no survivors. Suppose in green wars, the people who are cutting down the trees for their own good, they are actually destroying this earth and they are actually making the future of their next generation very much in trouble. So he says that the wars in which we people are engaged in, that is the green wars, wars with gas, wars with fire, in all these wars there will be survivors. Means people will come out, but there will be no survivors. Suppose if two countries are at war with each other, there will be casualties from both the sides. Means if two countries they are at war with each other, one of them will emerge winner, but the winner will also have some casualties. Means some soldiers of that winner country will also have lost their lives. So in every kind of war, even if one side attains victory, there are no survivors. So here Pablo Neruda just wants to tell us that war is never good for us. Maybe it may be any kind of war, but war only gives us suffering. There is nothing that we can gain out of war. So he says that all these people who are involved in such kind of wars, they would put on clean clothes. Means if such a situation arrives that when everything is still, everyone is trying to introspect, then those people who are involved in such kind of wars, they would put on clean clothes. Here, put on clean clothes, it has a deeper meaning. He wants to say that those people who are involved in such kind of wars, they will have a new attitude towards life. Their thinking will change, their attitude towards life will change, they will adopt a new approach, they will start thinking differently and walk about with their brothers in the shade doing nothing. And after they have changed their attitude, after they have changed their thinking, they would walk about with their brothers. Here, brothers means enemies. Means if we change our approach towards life, we will consider our enemies as our brothers. We will no longer consider them as our enemies. We will consider them as our brothers, and we will walk about in the shade. Means we will walk about in the shade with them doing nothing. We will be in a very peaceful state. We will no longer be at war with them, and we will walk about with them in a very good state of mind in the shade doing nothing. We will not do any kind of activity. We will not do any harm to each other. What I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Life is what it is about. I want no truck with that. So in these lines, Pablo Neruda makes us assured that what he wants to say, it should not be confused with total inactivity. Here, total inactivity means death. Means he wants to tell us that he is asking us to remain silent, he is asking us to remain still, he is asking us to take a break from all our day-to-day activities in this busy world. But he also reassures that what he wants to say, it should not be confused with death. He doesn't want us to remain all inactive and remain in a state of death. He wants us to just take a pause, and this pause is not about total inactivity. It should not be confused with death. It doesn't want us to embrace death. It doesn't want us to die. So this is what he says, that what I want should not be confused with total inactivity. Means what I want you to do, this should not be confused with death. I don't want you people to embrace death. Life is what it is about. This line means that life is full of activity. Means life is what it is about. We cannot change this life. Life means activity. We all need to be active. But he also wants us to sometimes take a bit of a break from our day-to-day life. We should not be too much engrossed in our life. We all should not be too much single-minded, that we all should not be so focused about something that we forget all the other things. We should not lose track of whether that thing is good or bad, or whether we are doing the good or bad thing. So he just wants that we should remain active in life, we should remain single-minded, but at times we should also take a break. At times we should also take some pause from our daily life and introspect and to examine our own self whether we are doing the right or wrong things. I want no truck with death. Here, no truck with, it is actually an idiom or a phrase, you can say. It means that having no association with. He says that I don't have any association with death. That is, he is relating to that line which he said earlier. He says that I have no association with death. Means I don't want you people to remain dead. I don't want you people to behave as if you are dead. I don't want you all to just remain idle and to sit about and not do anything. What I want is that you should do all your activities, but once in a while you should take a break from your daily activities and think about those things which you are doing. So in the next few lines he says, if we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving and for once could do nothing, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves and of threatening ourselves with death. Here, Pablo Neruda brings about a very real and a very sorry thing about human beings. We people, sometimes we are so much engaged in our works, we are so involved in our works that we forget everything else. For example, a businessman, he might be involved so much into his business that he would forget everything else. He would forget his family, he would forget the society. So he says that we are sometimes so much involved, we are so single-minded about our lives that it brings about a sorrow to our lives. We are always busy in our works and we fail to understand ourselves. We no longer understand our own selves. We no longer know what is happening inside our own heart. We fail to understand this, and there is a constant threat, there is a constant fear in our minds, and that fear is of death. So the poet says that if we don't overdo the things, if we are not too single-minded about something in our life, probably our life will become better. So he says, if we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, means if we were not too involved or too focused in keeping our life moving, means in progressing in life, if we were not too focused in progressing in life and for once could do nothing, and for a moment if we could take a break from all those things, perhaps a huge silence might interrupt this sadness of never understanding ourselves. He says that if we took a break from all those things, perhaps we will get a silence in life, and that silence would be very much helpful to us because it would remain the sadness from our life. And what that sadness is? That sadness is of never understanding ourselves. Sometimes we become very sad in life because we no longer understand ourselves. We don't know what's going on in our life. We fail to make decisions. We sometimes take some wrong decisions also in that kind of situation. So he says that if we just take a break from everything and if we just think about our own self, if we introspect, probably we will get a silence, and that silence will be very useful to us because it will help us to remove the sadness of never understanding ourselves. We should not be too focused about a particular thing. We should not overdo the things because excess of anything is not a good thing. So we should not be too aggressive towards approaching our goals. We should take a break and we should introspect so that we can be able to remove the sadness of never understanding ourselves. And if we get that silence, it would also help us to remove the threat of death from our life. We human beings, we are very much afraid of death. We accept it or not, but we are very much afraid to die. So if we get a bit of silence in our life, it would remove all those negativity from our life, and it will give us a new approach to life. It will help us take a new approach to life, and we will emerge to be better human beings. Perhaps the art can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Here he gives us a very beautiful idea that in all negativity we should try and find out some positivity. When the situation gets too tough, we sometimes feel that there is no way out from this. We feel very much frustrated. But he says that we should take the example from Mother Nature. He says, the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. We all know that during winter, everything becomes very dry. The leaves fall off from the plants. In the Western countries, there is snowfall and everything around seems to be dead. But when gradually spring arrives, Mother Nature heals herself. Means we see that again there is greenery around, again there are green leaves on trees. So from this we should learn that when everything seems dead, when there seems that there is nothing left, there is hopelessness everywhere, again there might be some ray of hope coming towards us. The thing that seemed to be lifeless, a few days ago, it brings about life to its own self after a few days. Similarly, in life, we should learn from Mother Earth, we should learn from this nature that when everything seems to be hopeless, when everything seems that there is no hope for us, there must be some positivity in that situation too. So we should learn from Mother Earth. That is what Pablo Neruda tries to tell here, that when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive, that when everything seems to be dead, it is actually having some life hidden in it. So finally what he says is, now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I will go. So finally he says that he has explained us everything. He has told us what we will attain out of keeping quiet and keeping still. So he says that now he will count up to 12, means now he will do the counting and we all should keep quiet and he will go. Means we all should try and introspect, we all should remain silent and think about those things which you have done, good or bad, and we should analyze our life. So in this poem, the clear idea that Pablo Neruda wants to convey is that we all should introspect. We all should think what we have done in life. It may be in any field, we should just think about those things, maybe good or bad. We have to think and analyze what we have done, and we should act accordingly after analyzing the situation. And he also says that we should all remain in a very understanding way. We all human beings, we should not fight with each other so much, because at the end of the day we are causing harm to our own selves. So this is all about the poem. I hope you understood this poem very well. Still, if you have any doubts regarding this, please leave your questions in the comment section below, and stay tuned for more such videos. Keep watching English Gyan. Thank you.